My name is Riley. I'm going to be your pharmacist today. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So first, can I just get your name and address?
Beth Ray, 26 Green Street in Augusta.
Perfect. So thanks for meeting with me today. So basically, we're going to be going over some basic healthcare terms, just familiarizing yourself with some basic definitions that you should know for your future Medicare plans or whatever health insurance you're interested in the future. So I just want to first just ask, so how familiar are you with like healthcare in general, like healthcare terms, that kind of stuff? Okay. Like, have you heard of like copay before?
Yeah, copay.
Okay. What about like premium and deductible?
Yep.
You have? Okay, cool. So like one of the reasons why our pharmacy is trying to meet more with patients is a lot of the times their insurance plans aren't really informing them on what all of these definitions mean. So they're not really understanding like what a copay is, what a deductible is. So we just want to make sure that we're educating our patients so that they know what's going on, because we understand how frustrating it is when you're like, I don't get what this money is and I need to pay. So it's important that you understand like what each of these payments are. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Any questions before we get started? No? Okay. First, the term that we're going to talk about is a premium. So you said that you kind of know what this is a little bit.
It's what you pay.
Yeah. So basically, it's usually a monthly payment that you make that basically allows you to get coverage by your insurance plan. So usually this is a monthly payment. I think some plans they might ask you to pay like a yearly payment, but most plans will be a monthly payment. And it's basically a contract between you and your insurer. You pay them this, and they give you whatever services they give you. And like all of these things, like you have health insurance, you also have prescription insurance, but like no matter what it is, you'll have a premium. So it's like as long as you understand what that term is, you should be good. Okay, cool. So our next term is the deductible. So basically, you probably know what a deductible is, maybe? Yeah. Okay, so basically it's like a yearly payment that you need to make. So you need to pay up until a certain amount, and then you're going to be covered by whatever plan you're on. So for example, if your deductible was $1,000, and say this was for your prescription insurance, you would have to spend $1,000 on your medications before your insurance started to cover your medicines. So something that's important that we go over is negotiated prices. So what happens is when you go to your preferred pharmacy, do you know what a preferred pharmacy is?
Isn't it just where I choose to go?
It's where your insurance wants you to go. Okay. And if you go where they would prefer you to go, they'll offer you better prices. So basically what happens is if you go to this preferred pharmacy, you'll have negotiated prices. So even while you're still paying your deductible, like if the cash price is $100, you might end up paying $90 because of this negotiated price. So that's one of the benefits of having prescription insurance or other health insurance in general, because I know it's frustrating when you're in this deductible period. You might be like, why am I even having
insurance?
Yeah, because like you could just like maybe use GoodRx,
right.
Which there's other ways to get discounts on your meds, but that's one of the reasons why you will get negotiated prices. So that's a plus of that. Do you have any questions on that? Okay. You mentioned that you were familiar with what a copay is. So basically, it's the size of the payment that you make for it could be a medication, it could be a health service, but for now we're just going to say for the medication, so with drug coverage. So like certain plans might have a $5 copay for monthly maintenance meds. So each month, so for something like metoprolol for blood pressure, have you heard of that medicine before? Okay. So basically each month you would pay $5. It's not based off of a percentage, it's just a set amount that your insurance company makes. So you kind of know what you're expecting. So you know, like when you go to the pharmacy to pick up your meds, if like you pay $5 and you see that it says $15, then you would have like a red flag go off, and you could investigate further. Because we also want to make sure that like by you knowing what you should be paying, you can make sure you're paying the right amount, kind of. So does that make sense? Okay. So something else to go over is formulary. So a formulary is basically a list of drugs that your plan will cover. It also can be a list of services that they'll cover. So if something's on the formulary, that just means that your insurance is paying some amount of it. If something's not on the formulary, then that means that your insurer is not wanting to cover that medication. So something to note is that only things on the formulary will go towards your deductible. So if you have a super expensive like diabetes medication down the line, and you're like, I don't get why I'm not hitting this deductible sooner. I'm paying a ton of money per month on this medication. It's because it's probably not on your formulary. So if it's not on your formulary, it's not building up your deductible. So that's one of the instances where you might want to check out like GoodRx or some other coupon that might offer you better deals for things that aren't on the formulary. Have you had any experience with GoodRx before?
No, I've compared prices once or twice, but.
Okay, yeah, that's usually one of the places we recommend for patients. So I don't know, maybe just like bookmark that or keep that in mind for if you need more medicines in the future. So the next term we're going to talk about is a drug tier. So basically, usually your plan will have different tiers for usually medications. So they might have a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3. So usually a tier 1 will be the least expensive medications that are usually generic preferred. So it might be something like metoprolol, which is a generic medication. So that would be a tier 1 medicine because it's generic and it's pretty cheap. So those are the medicines that you would expect for tier 1. Tier 3 might be like super expensive diabetes medications that are only offered in a brand form. So they're more expensive and they're also only offered in the brand. Yes. So those are the kind of the two ways that you can compare that. So next we have a coverage gap. So when you're on your Medicare plan, this is something that you'll want to be familiar with. So basically what happens is each plan has a certain amount that they're going to cover before they cut you off. When they cut you off because they've spent a lot of money towards like your copay and stuff like that, they are going to say that you're in the coverage gap. So another term for the coverage gap is the donut hole. Have you heard of either of these before? No. Okay. So basically, this is when your insurers, like, we paid a lot of money for you. Now, before we pay more for you, we want you to pay a certain amount. So this is a dollar value that is set up by the federal government. So no matter what plan you have, the donut hole that you pay is going to be the same amount. So that's something that's important.
Standard.
Yes, it's standard. Exactly. So it's also important to note that during this coverage gap, you're paying this negotiated price that we talked about. So that's one of the benefits of having health insurance. You're still getting some benefit from it. You obviously can shop around, but you are getting that negotiated price. Let's see. So something to note is once you pay this coverage gap, you are in a catastrophic coverage, which basically means that your like meds are expensive and your insurer is going to once again cover through the catastrophic coverage. Is usually they'll pay a certain percentage at this point. So that's what happens then. It's a way for the government to be like, okay, you guys can pay this amount, but we're not going to let you pay a ton forever. Eventually, we're going to make sure that your insurance company steps back in. Yeah. So do you have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. So next we have star rating, and it's basically a way to compare plans. So it assigns a number value between 0 to 5 that kind of assesses the overall well-being of a plan and how good it is, I guess. So usually it will compare health services and drug services. So for drug services, it might compare the copays that you pay compared to like the premiums and deductible. So like if you're paying extremely high copays and extremely high premiums, obviously it probably won't make sense for you financially. So it assesses how financially sound the plan is for you. So it also will allow us to get more information on customer satisfaction as well as customer service. So when you call your insurance plan, how able are they to answer your questions? Like that kind of stuff. Like how good is the plan?
Kind of like products are rated.
Yeah, exactly. So like how good is it? So let's see, what else do I have for you to go over? So yeah, their overall experience with the health insurance. So that's basically what the star rating will look at. So we've finished all these terms, so we just have a few more things to go over. But do you have any questions on these terms?
No.
Okay.
Explain them all.
Thank you. So we have brand versus generic. So this isn't something important for customers to know. You probably have heard of.
I have.
Okay. So basically, an example for a drug would be metoprolol succinate. And I don't know, you mentioned that you knew that this was for blood pressure.
Right.
So this is a generic medication.
Mhm.
There's also a brand form of this called toprol.
Mhm.
So it's important that you were to know that there's two different forms of the medicine. So
Yeah.
do you know why they're different from each other?
No.
So basically they both have the same active ingredient, which means they have the same therapeutic effect.
So what makes them different?
They have different excipients, which are other things that do not affect.
Like inactive.
They're inactive ingredients, exactly. So basically one of the reasons why they have these is, so usually if a patient per se is allergic to one of the non-active ingredients in the generic product, their doctor might be like, we want you to only take the brand.
Got it.
So that's one of the ways that like they would only want to take one of those.
Got it.
Something else, Massachusetts law has something where you need to substitute it for the generic unless your doctor specifies otherwise. So as we said with the allergic reaction, that would be an other situation.
Is every state different?
Yes, every state is different. So that is how Massachusetts operates. So yeah, you'll want to just be familiar with that. Let's see. Anything else you want to say on brand versus generic? So one thing I looked up for you. So we have something called different databases that we can use to get more information on drugs. So there's a website called drugs.com, and it allows you to compare the cost of different medicines. So here we have the generic metoprolol succinate and the brand toprol. So this just looks at the cost price that you would most likely pay cash-wise if you didn't use your insurance. So here for metoprolol, it would be like around $13.80. It looks like for 10 tablets. But then the brand version of that would be $18. So one of the reasons why brand is more expensive is because it's what comes first on the market. So before you have a generic, you're going to have a brand. So the brand usually sets the pace for what the price is, and then generics will come afterwards, and they'll tend to be cheaper. So yeah,
like 50 cents a day.
Yeah. So a lot of times patients will like say, okay, you're giving me the generic, right? But it's also important that you know, unless your doctor is telling us not to, we will be giving you the generic. So yeah, so that those are things that you're going to want to look for. So basically all these terms, as well as knowing the difference between brand versus generic, will help you in your future, because we never know what medicines you might need to be on or anything like that. So do you have any other questions for me?
No, thank you. You did a good job.
Thanks for coming in, Beth. Nice to meet you too. Before you leave, I know we went through this, but I have this form for you. Everything we went through is in here.
I'd love a
But you can
copy.
just take it with you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, have a good one.
Okay.